What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Camper Report. We're back after a few weeks. It's been actually a while since I've even posted any content, but we're back, everyone. Um, During the busiest time of the NFL, just other than the NFL season, this is by far the busiest time. We got the Niners making a ton of big moves. We got the rest of the NFL. Just a ton of news has happened, and it's a little hard to keep up with. I've tried my best, but I'm going to try my best today to share with you guys some of the biggest free agent stories of the offseason so far. Going forward, I definitely will be talking a little bit more about the draft. I'm currently trying to delve into that a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, very exciting times for the Niners and the rest of the NFL right now. I'm just trying to look something up real quick, but I see we've already got somebody in the chat. So Philip Sellers is already here. Why isn't my hold on. My mouse wasn't working. He says, "Go Pack, go." We finally doing good shit in free agency. He's talking about the Packers. He says, "Good to see you, Ben. Watch out, we coming for the NFC next year." So, I mean, I guess without wasting any more time, we could talk about, sorry, my YouTube was on. Without wasting any more time, we could talk about the Packers, because I was going to start off with some of the winners and losers. Um, but I did have a segment on the Packers. So let's get to the Packers then. The big signing that they made was they signed Xavier McKinney, which was a huge signing for them because their secondary was pretty bad last year. They signed safety, I believe, Xavier McKinney, one of the best in the league, from the Giants. And that was a really big signing there. So definitely they've been a little bit more aggressive this year, and they're using that that cap space that they had this year. But the more confusing signing to me was they let go of Aaron Jones. Then they go and get Josh Jacobs, the Raiders running back, and which kind of shocked me a little bit because Aaron Jones had such a good run in the playoffs last year. Like, he played really well in the playoffs. So I was kind of delving in a little bit more to, like, why did the Packers go and get Josh Jacobs and they got rid of Aaron Jones? And so kind of the thing that I found out while looking at this, it was a big signing, right? But he's younger. He's 26 years old. Josh Jacobs, 26 years old, compared to Aaron Jones, who's about 29 years old. So that's one. Philip Sellers said it here. He gets hurt too much. Yeah. Aaron Jones was less healthy than Josh Jacobs last year. Josh Jacobs is younger with a running back. Youth is really important, right? Now, in the pass game, I think the Packers take a step down because Aaron Jones has always been a better running back in the pass game. But I will say that I think in the run game, this definitely makes a lot of sense because they now have like a really true workhorse back. Like, I feel like Josh Jacobs is definitely more of like a power back, kind of that guy that you can give a bunch of the workload to, and he's just going to carry the team. You also put on top of the fact that he's also going behind a lot better of an offensive line than the Packers are. So, sorry, than the Raiders were. Like, the Packers have a lot better of an offensive line than the Raiders ever did. Hold on, my nose is like, I got some like blockage in my nose, but a lot better of an offensive line he's going to be playing behind. There's more of a threat of throwing the ball because Jordan Love is a lot better of the quarterbacks than the Raiders had last year. So a bigger threat of throwing the ball. Teams won't game plan to stop Josh Jacobs. See, last year, Josh Jacobs averaged 3.6 yards per carry. But you've also got to consider a lot of the year, the Raiders were playing with quarterbacks who couldn't throw the ball downfield and really didn't throw the ball at all. You had Jimmy Garoppolo, you had Aiden O'Connell, and both of those guys just aren't good throwers of the football. Now he gets to be in the backfield with Jordan Love, who has the capability to throw it 30 times a game, and teams have to respect that. So Josh Jacobs, his numbers weren't insanely good last year, but he had a really good year the year before that with Derek Carr, who is a better thrower of the football. So yeah, I think this was actually a really good replacement signing. The only thing that hurts if you're a Packers fan is, I've heard this all over Twitter, but like Aaron Jones goes to the Minnesota Vikings. So that kind of does hurt a little bit. But I think overall it was a good signing by the Packers. Sorry, guys. I'm drinking a Celsius energy drink. I'm not sponsored by them, but definitely like their energy drinks. So I might be burping throughout this show. Definitely not a good idea to drink anything carbonated while you're doing a live show. But I did like that signing a lot. Obviously, like I said, he's younger. I want to quickly touch on, let's stick with the running backs, though. Let's touch on Saquon Barkley signing with the Eagles. I believe it was $8 million per year, 3-year deal. I believe they can opt out of that deal 2 years or a year or two in. I think this was a good signing for the Eagles, not only because they have a new offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, and the Cowboys offensive, not last year, but the year before, they had Kellen Moore, and their offensive running scheme was very good a few years ago when Kellen Moore was running things. He's a very good running expert. So now that you have Saquon Barkley, it's like, and a new offensive coordinator who knows what he's doing, unlike, I believe it was Sean Desai last year. Now that you have a new offensive coordinator, you pair him with Saquon Barkley. When Saquon Barkley is at his ceiling, he's like up into the Christian McCaffrey level. But that depends on whether he can stay healthy or not. And that's really going to be the biggest thing with him. But overall, you get Kellen Moore. He's playing behind a great O-line who the Eagles just re-signed Landon Dickerson. What's his name? I guess they probably need to either, I can't remember who's filling in for Jason Kelce, but I was talking to my brother and he's like, that's not a huge issue. Lane Johnson is coming back. So you're playing behind an amazing offensive line. Way better. I mean, the Giants' offensive line was terrible. And you're seeing what Saquon Barkley did 2 years ago when the Giants made the playoffs and he had his amazing year. So if Saquon Barkley can kind of return to that 2022 regular season Giants Saquon Barkley, if he can return to that version when he had, I don't know how many yards he had, but he was like playing at an MVP level that year. If you can return to that version, you've got a very scary Saquon Barkley. Now, guys, if you're Niners fans in here, I'm going to get to the Niners. Trust me. Later on, there will be plenty of Niners content, but I'm trying to cover the just array of news that's happened. But let's get to the winners and losers. First, we'll read out a few more comments. Someone's staying up all night. Yeah, I have like I'm not going to cuss. I have a ton of school to do tonight. So that's why I'm drinking this. And I have to bring you guys the content. Let's see. I hate that Jones went to the Vikings. F that, he says. LOL. Yeah. That's like that's just like he goes to your enemy and he took he was willing to take a pay cut with the Packers. They just didn't want him. And he took I believe it was a 1-year, $7 million deal with the Vikings. So he definitely jumped ship, which I commend him for that because I mean, the Packers didn't really seem like they wanted him. And they couldn't work something out. So I live near Penn State. The people around here are freaking out that he went to the Eagles. LOL. Yeah, I mean, I know he went to college at Penn State. I know he played there, was a really good running back there. Brian Johnson was the Eagles OC. Desai was the DC. Okay, yeah. Okay, you're right there. Both of them sucked. It didn't matter who their coordinators were last year. They both sucked. Texans and Commanders did really well in free agency. I will touch on the Texans. Yes. So, winners and losers of this free agency, I'm going to start with the Vikings because they lost Kirk Cousins, but now it's ultimately clear to me that they're going to go and draft a quarterback. And right now, it's just which quarterback is that? Is it JJ McCarthy? They have pick number 11. Is it JJ McCarthy? Is it Daniels, Jaden Daniels? Is it the kid out of Washington? It's ultimately clear to me that they're going to get a quarterback. It's just going to be one of those three guys. It's going to be Penix or Bo Nix. To me, I wouldn't go and get JJ McCarthy. I have my doubts on him. I'm going to have to watch more film. This week, I'm going to start watching more film on all the quarterbacks. But ultimately, to me, if you're the Vikings, I mean, I guess you have to take a chance. You just got Sam Darnold. You have to take a chance on one of those 3 or 4 quarterbacks. If I were me, I'd go Jaden Daniels. I think he definitely has a lot more of a sample size than JJ McCarthy did. And he has better accuracy than Penix did. If you're going for like the high risk, high reward, I would go for Michael Penix. But I also don't think Penix is worth a first round pick. So I know I'm kind of getting off topic here, but the Vikings also got Jonathan Greenyard, who is coming off a 12.5 sack season, and had 53 total pressures. So he's coming off of a really good year. Jonathan Greenyard played for the Texans, I believe. And the biggest thing with the Vikings is their biggest need was the defensive line, really their defense in general. They addressed that in a great way. They got Blake Cashman, who was the 8th highest graded PFF linebacker. So 8th highest. So was it, according to PFF, a top 10 linebacker, Blake Cashman, linebacker Blake Cashman. So they definitely bolstered their defense a little bit. So that's one of my winners. And they're delving fully into this rebuild, but with Justin Jefferson coming back, I fully guarantee you that they're going to be a pretty good team this year, actually. Houston Texans is one of mine that really, yes, they won. They picked up Danielle Hunter, who had 16.5 sacks last year. One of their needs was Will Anderson. I said that the Houston Texans should make a run at Chris Jones. Obviously, he went back to the Chiefs, but I said that the Texans in an earlier video, I said that the Texans were going to be in the market for every major defensive pass rusher, and they ended up getting Danielle Hunter. You pair him next to Will Anderson, who had a great rookie season, won Defensive Rookie of the Year, a 16.5 sack guy paired with Will Anderson, who had a great year. Danielle Hunter had 80 pressures. I mean, that alone is going to be impressive. Their defensive line is going to be really freaking good if Danielle Hunter can stay healthy. So Houston Texans was a huge win in this free agency. Snagged one of the best defensive players out there. Huge shout out to them. Didn't the Vikings sign Sam Darnold? Yes, they did. I honestly think, that's not really much of a... I think Sam Darnold maybe starts for a few weeks next year, but I would not want him to start. Take that from a 49ers fan. Vikings should trade for Trey Lance. Nah, I would go through the draft. I don't know. That's kind of a project that if you're the Vikings, it's like I'd rather start over with a guy than get a guy like Trey Lance who, he's probably has the potential to be good, but trade for Trey. I guess you could trade like a 6th round pick. I guess it couldn't hurt. But my next winner has to be the Atlanta Falcons. They got Kirk Cousins. They got Darnell Mooney. And I think it's pretty safe to say that they're going to have a really good chance of coming out of their division as the winner at NFC South. I mean, the big thing with them last year is they had such a good offense. They just had shitty quarterback play. Sorry to cuss. They had bad quarterback play. Kyle Pitts, in his rookie year, was one of the best tight ends in the league. Fell off since then. But now he has, once again, a very good quarterback in Kirk Cousins. I mean, this is going to be the resurrection of Kyle Pitts' career. This is going to be the resurrection of Drake London's career. This is going to be the resurrection. I mean, not resurrection because Bijan Robinson did really good last year, but it's safe to say that this is going to be the resurrection. I mean, all of those guys, they have some of the best weapons in the NFL. All of those guys are going to really, really play well. On top of that, you add a Falcons offensive line, which is like potentially top 10 in the league, which is a major step up from the Vikings offensive line, which was terrible last year, one of the worst in the league. So, I mean, this offense for the Falcons, I originally mocked them to draft a quarterback, but this just made too much sense, right? Because if you think about it, it's like they do not want a Spencer Rattler, not Spencer Rattler. They do not want a Desmond Ridder situation all over again. They don't want to go through that headache of developing a quarterback again. On top of the fact that you have a new coach, you have a new regime in Raheem Morris, I believe his name is. Raheem Morris, their offensive coordinator, came over from the Rams as well, and he was a quarterback's coach. His name I'm forgetting his name at the time right now, but a new regime, veteran quarterback, a ton of offensive weapons. I love what this signing meant to the Falcons, and this is going to make them, I mean, the NFC South is trash, but this is going to probably make them, I mean, a 10-11 win team, probably, I'd say. I mean, I don't think they have that hard of a schedule. They finished off third. Was it third? Yeah, in the NFC South, so that means they wouldn't have a super hard schedule. They aren't going anywhere in the playoffs. Yeah, I mean, with Kirk Cousins' track record, I don't know if they will, but it definitely makes them a huge contender for the playoffs and maybe winning one game, which is a huge step up for them. And now at least you don't have to trade up for a quarterback. Now, is it still possible that they get a quarterback in the draft? It could be. Maybe they trade down, they get some more picks, they trade down maybe to, I mean, you look at the Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings are all going to be vouching for a quarterback at 11, 12, and 13. All of those teams are going to be trying to jump people. Like the Raiders, Broncos, and Vikings are all going to try to trade up to jump one another for a quarterback because they all need quarterbacks. So if you're the Falcons, what you do is you say, okay, we're going to trade back. We're going to compensate some picks, maybe get a first rounder, right? And we're going to still draft a high risk, high reward quarterback like Michael Penix. Or you could wait till the second round, get somebody like Spencer Rattler, who has a great arm, definitely was dealt a bad hand in college, but is definitely a great, or the other guy from, I believe his name is from Marshall, the college. So if you still want to draft a quarterback, you probably could. They definitely still need to draft O-line. That's true, to draft to protect Cousins. But they now have the flexibility to draft a quarterback that's high risk, high reward. Could be that. Or they could stay at number 8 and get one of the best players available. They could get, Cooper DeJean. I mean, a huge need for them is cornerback. One of my suitors for Cooper DeJean was the Falcons when I made a video on him. So they could stay at number 8, potentially get Cooper DeJean, or maybe trade up, get Cooper DeJean. So now they have a lot of flexibility at that pick number 8. So yeah, that's kind of my second winner or third winner. Now let's talk about some of the losers. Let's talk about some of the losers. I'll go quick on this one. Cowboys and Bills. The Cowboys they broke my heart. They stole Eric Kendricks from us, but other than that, they've made literally no moves, which is because they had no cap space. They really had no flexibility to do anything. And then the Bills got significantly worse. They lost Gabe Davis, they lost Leonard Floyd, their edge rusher, they still haven't re-signed Tre'Davious White, so they're going to lose him. They've lost, I'm trying to think who else here. I'm looking here who else they've lost. They lost Stephon Gilmore, Tyron Smith probably are not going to be back. They lost Tony Pollard. That's a big one. So has to be the Cowboys as well. And then, sorry, I'm talking about the Bills, but the Cowboys also huge loser. The Bills lost Leonard Floyd, Micah Hyde, Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer. They basically lost their whole entire secondary. Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde. So, yeah. They were really over the cap, so they had to make those moves. But for anyone who is thinking that the Bills are going to be contender this year, I would think again. So we'll see there, but definitely a loser. Let's talk Justin Fields, though. I have a topic on him. I do not have a banner for that one. I was a little bit in a rush, but let's talk Justin Fields. Justin Fields, what's the trade market for Justin Fields? Because, he, after, really the one landing spot for Justin Fields was the Falcons. And now that they've gotten Kirk Cousins, I'm asking myself, what's the trade partner that the Bears can trade with for Justin Fields? The Falcons was really the only suitor. The Raiders, they signed Gardner Minshew, so it's probably looking like they won't be in contention for Justin Fields, because the Raiders, it's looking more and more like they're going to draft a quarterback, which is probably smart. So who are the suitors still left for Justin Fields? And to me, you could maybe go Broncos, but they probably want to draft a guy as well. You could go Vikings. That could be interesting. It's pretty clear that the Bears want to move on from him, but after this Kirk Cousins, it just destroys the market value for Justin Fields. And, the Bears can say goodbye to even getting a good pick for him, because no one's really willing to go and get him. There's not been a lot of teams that have shown a lot of interest in him. So it's going to be interesting. I think he's going to definitely get traded probably right before the draft, when teams have a little bit more of a sense of how the free agent market has gone. I don't think he gets traded right now, because teams are still trying to figure out what their team is going to look like. But he definitely gets traded before the draft. That's obviously a no-brainer. It's more just who is now a contender for him. And I think one of the three teams, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, are definitely still contenders for him, but the Broncos don't have any cap space. The Raiders could get him, but I feel like at this point, if you're the Raiders, you probably want to go through the draft. Same with the Vikings. So who knows? Who knows where he's going to land, but sorry, I should not have drank something carbonated before the show, because I am definitely a little bit burping quite a bit. But yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see where he goes there, because after the Kirk Cousins, the Falcons picking up Kirk Cousins, we'll see what team tries to get him. And will the Bears be even able to trade him, or will they just keep him on a roster for another year, eat that cap space, still get Caleb Williams? I mean, we'll see. We'll see. So trade Justin Fields still on the Bears, and his stock has taken a massive hit. Now, let's see what else we have here. I guess we could quickly talk about how the Titans have definitely fully, I mean, we knew that they were committed to Will Levis, but have fully committed really to him now. They ended up getting Tony Pollard. They picked up Calvin Ridley. So they're kind of transitioning. I mean, they always were a smash mouth football team, very physical, but obviously they got the offensive coordinator, Callahan, I believe his name was. They got the offensive coordinator from the Bengals, and now it's looking like they got Tony Pollard, who isn't a workhorse back. Now it's looking like the Titans are going to become a lot more of a pass-first offense, just like the Bengals are. An offense that will they have a run game, but they're relying on their quarterback's arm for the most part. I think it's pretty clear that the Titans go through the draft with an offensive lineman. They need to draft offensive line. So that's yet another team that has offensive line needs. But yeah, Will Levis gets Calvin Ridley, I still think is a top 20 receiver. And then he also gets Tony Pollard, who in the right system with the right amount of carries, I think he can be a very talented guy. So definitely have to go there. But let's talk about, I know it took me a little bit long to get to this 49ers free agent signings. Hold on. Let's talk about their free agent signings. I was a big fan of the Leonard Floyd signing. Signed him for about $10 million a year, $13 million a year, somewhere in that range. I was a huge, huge fan of this because beforehand, I really wanted the 49ers to get him. I was talking about their best fits, and one of the guys that I mentioned was Leonard Floyd. Huge fan of this signing. He had 10 sacks last year. He doesn't get injured. He's played under Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley knows him. A lot of the signings that the 49ers have made in this free agency, I think, had a lot to do with Brandon Staley, who is now their assistant head coach. Now, they also went out and got Yetur Gross-Matos, another defensive end. He had 5 sacks last year, but is a lot better of a run defender. So that's going to kind of be a replacement for Clelin Ferrell, probably a little bit better of a replacement. They went and got the defensive tackle from the Browns. I quickly could go, hold on here. Jordan Elliott, signed him to a 2-year, $10 million deal. He's a defensive tackle, although his run defense grade on PFF was not great, about a 50 PFF grade in run defense, which is like not good. So we'll see. I mean, Jordan Elliott kind of seems like a good depth piece, backup piece. But the big one so far has been Leonard Floyd. We re-signed Colton McKivitz. Not a huge fan of that. I mean, I'd think that would have to be a swing tackle move, us re-signing Colton McKivitz. I just can't see the 49ers going another year not addressing that tackle position. Now, I think the 49ers have the draft picks to trade up and get an offensive lineman. Now, and the other thing is, like, all their moves this free agency has been all on the defensive line, right? Now, they rumored to sign Jordan Kendricks, the linebacker, and then the Cowboys at the, what is the saying, 11th hour or something like that? No. Yeah. The Cowboys last second signed Eric Kendricks. So now the 49ers are once again in need of a linebacker. Now, it's going to be interesting to see, like, the linebacker position. The two deep positions in the draft this year are cornerback and receiver. The linebacker position, I mean, isn't as deep, but could the 49ers spend one of their 2 picks first and second round pick, maybe on a linebacker, either one of those picks. I don't know. We'll see. I honestly think that the 49ers, them addressing the defensive line and going mainly defense and free agency, says to me that they're going to address the offensive line or cornerback position in the first round. I think with them drafting or getting a lot of these defensive linemen, it puts them more in a position, because before free agency, they had 3 defensive linemen, I believe, still on the roster. And so with them drafting signing all these defensive linemen, it puts them in a position to draft best player available. And I think, I have a feeling, now this is just a feeling, but there are a lot of generational cornerbacks, generational talented cornerbacks in this year's draft. I have a feeling the Niners are going to go get one of the elite cornerbacks in this draft, whether it's Terrion Arnold, whether it's just staying at 31 and maybe taking Max Melton, one of those guys. It could be an offensive lineman, but I just feel like, Charvarius Ward is up for an extension next year. They do have a hole at cornerback. They have an opportunity to get a cornerback in Terrion Arnold or the guy out of Missouri, who, both of those guys are really talented. So we'll see. But they have an opportunity to go and get a cornerback who is very, very elite. I'm in love with Terrion Arnold. Go check him out. Cornerback out of Alabama. But they have an opportunity to go and now get either, I think it's pretty clear that they're either going to get tackle or an offensive lineman or cornerback with their first pick. Now, I wouldn't be opposed to either. I also think the 49ers could, I actually forgot to add this in the topics, but it's rumored that the Ravens want to go and get Deebo Samuel. To me, I feel like if the price is right, I would definitely trade Deebo Samuel. If they're offering, I don't know. I feel like what would be the proper price for Deebo Samuel? I feel like a second round pick. I feel like you could probably get a second round pick for him still. If the Ravens got Deebo Samuel, you pair him with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, that all automatically becomes really scary. The Ravens are Deebo. Hold on. Interested. I was meaning interested in Deebo Samuel. Interested in Deebo Samuel. But if they really are interested in Deebo Samuel, what in the world is going on here? If they really are interested in Deebo Samuel, I would think that the 49ers, with how deep this receiver class is, I wouldn't be surprised if they spend, one of their first picks on a receiver as well, which I wouldn't be against it because, Xavier Legette, freak of nature, Brendan Rice, Jerry Rice's son, another really good receiver. So I think if you're looking at the 49ers' first 2 picks, it's either going to be cornerback, tackle, or receiver. That's my best guess. I would be fine with cornerback in the first round. I would also be fine with offensive line in the first round. We have to. The only thing that confuses me is like the Niners, there was a lot of good guards in free agency, and we didn't even try to go and address the guard position or tackle position in free agency. We didn't even try, which is kind of sad. Because it's like, it kind of screams to me either the 49ers still have a move left to do, maybe they're going to trade for someone, or they're going to address the offensive line through the draft, which they could do that, but that's not the smartest idea. So I don't know. We'll see. The Niners would have to do it post June 1 for the salary cap consideration in savings in trading Deebo Samuel. Yeah, I saw that if they trade him right now, they'll only save about $7 million if it's post June 1. If it's post June 1st, sorry, I'm reading that all wrong. If it's post June 1st, they'll save a lot more. So we'll see what happens there. You kind of want draft picks now, right? Like, I mean, I know you don't save as much, but you definitely want draft picks now. So yeah. Now, I was talking about how Eric Kendricks went to the Cowboys. One last thing on the 49ers. I was talking how the Eric Kendricks went to the Cowboys. I was talking about how the 49ers maybe could. Oh my God. A Rams hater in here? A Rams troll in here? This guy literally came in here. Like, I saw the viewership go up. He came in here, posted this comment, and then dipped. They're not back on top, though. Like, what moves? I mean, they got slightly better on their offensive line. What moves? The 49ers still have a way better roster than the Rams do. I don't like. Rams fans piss me off so much. What move screams to you guys that the Rams are back on top? Like, what move? They didn't even make that many, like, splashy free agent signings. I think it'll be a little bit closer, but I think the 49ers, I mean, the Cardinals made some good. I believe they signed a Jonah Williams. That's a good offensive line signings, but and then obviously they have a high draft pick. The Cardinals kind of still are not great. The Seahawks didn't do much. The Rams, it's just like they didn't make anything splashy that kind of scares me. I don't know. And also, it's like the 49ers, when everyone's freaking out, everyone's freaking out about how they didn't make that many splashy moves. We still have the draft, people. We have 11 picks in this upcoming draft. We most likely will package a lot of those picks and trade up and get a generational talent, because there's a lot of talent this year in the draft at the tackle position, at the cornerback position. The 49ers are going to be better through this draft. I mean, they're going to do a lot better in this draft. There's a lot of talent in this draft, a lot of guys that I'm excited to see. So I'm excited for this draft. And I honestly, like, what would I grade the 49ers free agent? So real quick, I'm getting off topic here. Who could they replace Eric Kendricks with? They obviously are waiting for Dre Greenlaw to get healthy. They need insurance. Devin White comes to mind. Played 16 games last year, but I mean, when targeted, let me quickly pull up his stats. I had him here. Devin White. When passer rating allowed an 81.9 passer rating. That's about average. He had a 56.9 coverage grade. He's 26 years old. Devin White, linebacker from the Buccaneers. He's pretty good. He didn't play every game last year. Definitely tends to get injured quite a bit. But we could get him. We could get Jerome Baker, linebacker from the Dolphins. He had a 74.4 PFF coverage grade. So he's not a bad coverage linebacker. Devin White definitely is more of the physical linebacker, if you watch him play, that the 49ers want. Definitely a lot more like Dre Greenlaw, so that would be a good fit. Devin White's the obvious one. He's still out there. Or we could draft one. We drafted 2 linebackers last year who are both developmental pieces. So we could roll the dice and maybe trust some of our redshirt rookies from last year. Or we could go and get another one of those veteran linebackers and see what happens there. So we'll see. We'll see later on. I mean, they're still obviously free agency is still very much alive. So we'll see what they do later on. But yeah, I'm excited though. I think, a lot of people are like, definitely a little bit underwhelming of a free agency, but we got Leonard Floyd. And he's the best defensive end that the 49ers have had. And I don't even know since. I'm trying to think, this last year, he's better than any of the guys opposite Nick Bosa. I'm saying best defensive end that they've had opposite Nick Bosa since, last year they didn't. Chase Young, I think, is better than Chase Young. The year before that, I couldn't. I feel like 2019 is the last time that they had a guy as good as Leonard Floyd opposite Nick Bosa. So that's a definitely a good move there. And it's like we have a shit ton of draft picks. So I'm expecting us to either package some of those picks and trade for somebody. And another thing, it's like the way the Niners have structured. They restructured Fred Warner's contract. They restructured Kyle Juszczyk's contract. So they've been doing a lot of like maneuvering and stuff like that with different contracts. That's going to give them, maybe with all the contracts that they have restructured, I have a feeling that there's another move on the way, another big move that we're signing or trade that the Niners are going to make, because they've restructured contracts and they still have a ton of picks that they could spend on a player or trading up in the draft. So a lot more exciting things, I think, coming for the Niners. This troll in here, just this Rams fan just blowing up my chat. Rams are loaded. Okay. Where's your deal? Yeah. I think the Niners are pretty well set up for the future. Yeah, they have a lot of vets, but the way that we have, how many draft picks we have this year, we have a lot of developmental players. I don't know. He definitely did clown the Niners, Eric Kendricks. I don't think the Niners are ever going to be a really bad team, especially not without, like, with Brock Purdy and kind of the pieces we have. I don't think the Niners are ever going to be a bad team. Unless Purdy gets injured or we have a ton of injuries like we had in 2020. Leonard Floyd is washed. No, he's not. He's like, what, 20? He's still in his 20s. Damn, this guy is... I think Joey Bosa is possible. I wouldn't really like that very much. Like, we already got Gross Matos, who's not a bad backup defensive end. We already got Leonard Floyd. Joey Bosa hasn't been healthy in years. He's old. Unless he's willing to come and play for like under $10 million, then yeah, great. But I don't think that makes very much sense. Maybe play with his brother, but he's very injury prone. Anyways, guys, I have been live for about 45 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here. But yeah, there are still tons of free agency moves, news that I really haven't even covered. I'll probably go live again this Saturday, maybe. We'll see. But if not, I'll be going live next week. I'm going to try to get back to once a week going live. So Floyd has played all the games since 2019 and he has 10 sacks. He had 10 sacks last season. Yeah. Leonard Floyd, I love that signing. That's going to really pay off for us, I think. Carcast is in here. What's up, Carcast? But yeah, I think so. I'll be going live probably once a week, possibly this Saturday, to break down some more free agent news. Again, guys, during the week, maybe even this weekend, watch out for me because I want to be posting more draft prospect breakdowns. And so there's going to be definitely, now that free agency is kind of gone and underway, there will be more and more draft news coming out of this end of things, coming out of me, draft prospects, everything else. The Niners, I'll probably be covering every team in the first round, and then I'll be covering the Niners, who they should get in just the later rounds, and I'll be covering the Niners whole draft, and then I'll be covering the whole first round, doing mock drafts of the whole first round. So that's probably what my goal is moving forward. Covering a lot of the Niners in the draft, but also covering a little bit of other teams as well. So stay tuned for that, guys. Stay tuned. I'll be definitely a lot more active than I have been the last few weeks. I just started my new job, so that was a little bit hard to balance this and my new job. But now that I'm kind of getting a regular schedule back, I think I'll be going live, posting more content. So, guys, have a good rest of your night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Go Niners. Honestly, I'm a lot more positive on what they did this free agency than quite a few of you. This Rams fan is, I mean, I'm not really sure if I should just block him from my stream, but have a good night, everyone. And go Niners.